Over the weekend, Donald Trump was doing a speech in, I believe it was Michigan. And during this speech, he finally decided to break his silence on losing his second trial with E. Jean Carroll. Of course, we all know in the second trial, he was hit with $83 million in the verdict. The first trial, he was hit with $5 million, so he owes a grand total of $88 million to E. Jean Carroll. And following that second verdict, which came out weeks ago, Trump had actually shocked everybody by not saying anything. And his lawyers had said at the time when that verdict came down, like, hey, if he does something, if he says something again, we're not afraid to sue him again. And on Saturday, he finally broke his silence and said this. A woman, I'm saying, who the hell is she? Who is the woman? It's so unfair what's happening in our country. Our court system is a mess. What's happening in our country? They have to straighten it out. He, of course, was referring to E. Jean Carroll, so even though he's supposed to keep his mouth shut about her, he opened the door again. So on Monday evening, one of her lawyers, Sean Crowley, did go on MSNBC and said this. We're watching. We're listening. We had really hoped that as the jury found that $83 million would maybe be enough to convince him to keep E. Jean Carroll's name out of his mouth, apparently he showed us this weekend that he really cannot control himself and that maybe it wasn't, but we will see what happens as this continues to play out. In other words, we're not going to rule out suing him for a third time if he goes further. Now, the statement I just read you from Donald Trump, that is not a defamatory statement. So suing Donald Trump over that specific statement would be a mistake. And the lawyers know that. That's why they're not like, yep, we're going to move forward. They're like, listen, he's treading lightly here. But that's how Trump always starts with it, right? It's always, let me see if I can say this. And then when he gets away with it, he says, okay, let me see if I can say this. A great example of that, his dictator for the first day of his second term, right? Because it started off as, oh yeah, I may be a dictator just for the first day, as he's joking with Sean Hannity. And then he starts repeating it more, making it a promise. And then suddenly his supporters say, I'd be fine if he was a dictator for the whole month, for the whole year, for the whole second term, forever, for the rest of his life. That's what we're looking at here. Trump has now kicked that door open. His biggest liability at this point is his own mouth. If he had just kept his mouth shut and not said anything, he likely could have continued not saying something. But now that he's kicked the door open, and more importantly, now that he sees this story making headlines all week, he'll do it again. And he'll go one step further. At this point, he's almost taunting them. He's almost begging them to sue him for a third time. The first two trials, the jury was unanimous in both. You did this, you will pay up. And I have no reason to believe that if he does do this like kind of slow walk till eventually he gets to full defamation, that if they sue him again, a third jury is probably going to hit him for even more than the first two combined. Well, folks, we have crossed that 1 million subscriber milestone, but rest assured, we are just getting started here at Ring of Fire. So if you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel and make sure to like, share, and comment on the videos.